Hey there. So before we start, just some quick disclaimers just to get it out of the way. All the art here was used with permission, so I didn't just go out and got some random art and gave out unwanted criticism or help. All the artists here gave me permission to use this in a video, and also these little criticisms and helpful tips are just going to be very quick. I'm not going to redo a whole piece and just tell them, oh, do this and this and this. These are just going to be like very quick, helpful tips that you could implement or the artist can implement, but by all means, they're not required to implement this in their artwork. This is just my personal opinions of what I would do personally if I had this art piece or if I was making this. But yeah, let's go on to the first lovely artwork. Alright, so here's the first one. This one says, I feel like I could do more on this. Don't know what. Don't know what to do. So first off, I figured I'd probably add a bit more color. Maybe fill in the teardrop scales. Darkstalker's teardrop scales. And yeah, probably add more variety to this piece. Maybe a darker shade in the back and then a lighter shade in the front where his front side is. As you can see in the reference image, he has a bit of a lighter color in the front. It does seem like he has kind of the same color throughout, but with the power of artistic freedom, you can change some colors here and there. It doesn't matter. You're free to do whatever you want. So I picked a little bit of a darker color for his for these scales, just to break things up a little bit more, make it a bit more interesting to see. And this is just me coloring with a bucket tool, so nothing too complicated. And here I just added another scale, just to make it a bit more consistent. And if you want it, you can just leave it like that. This is fine. I think this is completely okay. But I added some shading, so you don't have to add the shading, but I just did it just for practice. Alright, so here we have our next piece, and this one's really cool. I like this one. It's an underwater piece, and I think it's been a while since I've done any underwater stuff. Since like probably Turtle and that's Turtle and Tsunami piece, and then the Tsunami piece before that. But I noticed in this one, he's a bit closer to the surface of the water. So I thought, it'd probably be a bit brighter than it is, because we do see rays of light kind of casting down on the water. So I just thought that would be a bit brighter than it is. So right now I'm brightening things up a little bit more. For closer to the surface, there's probably more light coming out of there. And just make sure things aren't too dark, and especially in this little small area here in this ground here that you can see the bones and the sea floor. You could probably have some like rays of light kind of touching down there, just so the ground doesn't like kind of vanish in the background. It doesn't have to be super bright. You just add just a little bit of light in there. Alright, and then I go and maybe add a bit more lighting to this creature here, a bit more intense lighting everywhere where I think the light's gonna hit. Maybe on this side here, it's gonna hit more. And then here what I'm doing is I'm thinking that some of the light is bouncing off the sea floor. So you'd have some kind of light showing on the bottom, on his bottom. Not too much, not a strong light, but it's still kind of a bounce light. And then here I'm going back and making things a bit darker. Just the background ocean, making it a bit darker. Just so there's more depth to the depth of the ocean. Making it seem like a vast ocean. Like it goes on for miles. But yeah, there it is. For me, it was just some minor lighting implementations, and that's about it. We go from a bit darker to a bit brighter, and having the lighting really affect the character. But other than that, this was a pretty good piece. All right, so here's our third art, the third art that we have, and right off the bat, I can say that starting off, don't be afraid to make like hard shadows. We have a lot of soft shadows here, which is good, it's fine, and soft shadows work really well. But don't be afraid to experiment with hard-edged shadows. This can work really well and kind of add to a piece, because if we see in real life, we have soft and hard shadows. You just have to learn where to put them, and that just comes with experience and looking at references and just learning. Yeah, a lot of people don't when they're starting off, they don't like putting hard shadows, because sometimes we put them in places where it kind of it might not make sense. And soft shadows are just kind of like easy to put in. They look good most of the time, but hard shadows can definitely enhance some of your pieces. So just play around. That's what art is. Art is fun. You can just play around with stuff. It doesn't have to be, your art doesn't have to be perfect 100% of the time. You can experiment with stuff. You can play around, especially if it's a hobby. If you're not working for a company, it's less stress. Or if you're not doing commissions, you can just play around with it. It's less stressful. Oh, and another lesson: you'd want to make your darks darker and lights lighter. So that's when the hard shadow really comes in handy. And you come in places where really no light is going to be casted, and make those places a bit darker. And then the lighter parts, like I'm doing right now, you can just make those a little bit lighter. Just high up the contrast a little bit. But not to a point where it's kind of too much. It's really all about practice and playing around and see what works, see what doesn't work. Just see what looks good and what doesn't look good. That's what art is all about. It's really mainly if it looks good. If it looks good, it's in. It doesn't necessarily have to make sense. It just needs to look good. It just needs to be pleasant to look at. Also, I added some backlighting to this. You don't have to add the backlighting. really optional. But I just like to do it. I don't know why. I like to add like backlighting to stuff. Just makes it look more like there's different light sources going around, like a photo booth type stuff. But it's this type is optional. You don't have to do it. So yeah, not much to say about this piece. This one's pretty well made. The only thing I added was the hard shadows and maybe a bit of harsher lighting. But other than that, looking pretty good. You could have maybe you could have added some texture to the floofy part, but not necessary. So yeah, good job.